Beware of spoilers, you have been warned.
Lin-Manuel Miranda took over the world by storm with Hamilton. He touched our hearts with Moana, and made sure that all we talked about was Bruno. But all his great successes started from somewhere. It started In the Heights. In the Heights was Lin's very first anything, and was a massive hit on Broadway. A few years ago, the Broadway was adapted into the movie of the week, In the Heights. Bro, I love the soundtrack to this Broadway, and my favorite songs are still very much my favorite parts of the movie. The intro song is great. Blackout, great. Carnival del Barrio, extra great. Love the Christopher Jackson cameo and the scene he had with Lynn. Legends. But not as legendary as Olga Merediz. She was part of the original cast as Abuela and returned to the role for the film. Her final song hit. Like, really hit. And Olga's performance was great. The movie as an adaptation is not bad. I think a few songs were cut. Abuela's plot with the winning lottery ticket kind of changed, and there were just a few minor changes that I didn't fully like. However, all the changes are not enough to take away the core of what this movie and what this musical is all about. And based on a few reviews I've seen, what the movie is about seems to be hard for people to follow, but I got you, I guess. So, the whole film takes place in Washington Heights and focuses on a close group of friends and neighbors within the Latino Caribbean community that is the majority of this borough in New York. The first takeaway from the story is how it celebrates New York. Its long history of immigration and many communities that came from this. The Latina Caribbean community is just one of many. New York City runs on immigrants and all of their rich culture and customs. My own grandmother, for example, was the child of two immigrants who found each other in New York. Her mother was very close to the Arabic community that was in Brooklyn at the time. So this is a part of In the Heights that I kind of appreciate from like a third person perspective, I guess. I think another big takeaway, another big aspect is Nina's story. Nina could be seen as whining at times, but she does have valid points. She went away from home, faced a bit of discrimination, and just felt lonely without her community. I personally don't get what she was on about with her idea that being away to become successful was betraying her people, like that server story or something. Like, is that really something that happens? Anyways, my biggest takeaway of Nina comes from the line, "Let me listen to my block." I watched this movie with a friend, and even he was like, "That's such a New York thing to say." But home is home, and Nina was embracing it for the first time that song. I think Nina learns is that no matter what she does, where she goes, or who she becomes, she knows she can always come back here. What she missed most of all was a support system of people like her. But she thought she lost that when she went to college. But they were always in her corner whether she was there or not. And her dad was right. Get revenge by being successful and being better. That's not betraying your community. That's representing it. Usnavi's story, obviously, is also a big takeaway. I mean, he's the main character. He is an immigrant who wants to go back to the motherland, and, you know, there are racist folk that want nothing more than for immigrants to go back to where they came from. Oh, you miss it so much, then why are you here? I'm not gonna get into that. But I will get into why Usnavi stays in the end. Being an immigrant takes a lot of work. It's a lot of effort, a lot of time, a lot of money. Immigrants have to adjust to a new life, probably away from their families, similar to Nina's experience, actually. It's an investment in every metaphorical and physical sense. You're not going to go through all of that just to leave in the end. And if you immigrated as a child, or if you were born in the country to immigrant parents, the place you call home is not the motherland. It's the country you grew up in. And in this case, Usnavi would have turned to the Dominican Republic, and it would have been Nina's experience all over again. Home is home, whether you realize it or not. And the Heights, that's their home. Putting it out there right now, season 14 is the last good season we got. I clearly remember the advertising of the season premiere. Michael Dean was on the cover of a magazine. It was awesome. This didn't even last a whole episode, so it was a bit of a tease in the end. Also, I don't understand why Dean is feeling guilty about everything Michael is doing. I get he was used as a vessel and did bad things, but Sam is the one that left Lucifer behind alive in the alternate universe, and Lucifer is the one that brought Michael to this world in return. All Dean did was give him a new vessel and kill Lucifer. Michael is doing what he would have been doing anyways. The only thing different is that Lucifer is dead and not exploring the galaxy with Jack, which was the original plan. I feel like after 14 seasons, we've seen the boys guilt-shame themselves every season for some reason, and usually reasons are valid. But Dean is literally the third in line of people to blame for Michael's shenanigans, so it's such a useless story element that adds nothing to his character. Anyways, Dean returns, but is totally self-possessed. Michael mentioned something about a trap, and we already saw this plot with Sam back when he was angel-possessed in, season 9? Was I right? Yes. Yes, I was. 2018 was a time. Michael did leave Dean, though, but it affected him so that he'd be able to return it as to the vessel at the right time. And 'tis the season, as what I'm guessing was a mid-season finale with the big reveal, and Michael Thanos snapping Kansas City to bloodshed. Boy oh boy, after a mind fight and some Reaper drama, Infinity War continues as New Death informs Dean of the 14,605 endings that destroy the world. Except one. Stay tuned for that. Jack had a strong will to kill Dean, if it means killing Michael. I know it breaks Cass's little gay angel heart, but Dean literally said the same thing approximately a year ago about Jack to his face. No need to bring up Apocalypse World. It was Dean who taught him that lesson. Speaking of Jack, he was totally downgraded, of course. He was overpowered in Apocalypse World, but too OP for this world, so he was downgraded just like everyone else at some point, because if they're too powerful, the Winchesters can't win the few times they do, and the studio can't afford the graphics, I guess. But there was still that episode when Jack saved that hexed girl without his powers, whilst Dean was off raging over dramatically, so that was cool. You know I said this was the last good season we got, and I've just been complaining so far, but honestly, those are probably the only complaints I have. They're big complaints, but I feel like I enjoyed so many more episodes this season than most of the seasons prior, or even the last season, which I have seen now. So overall, it was pretty good, even if I am nitpicking. Mama Mills, oh snap. It's always a treat to see her. I will rage quit if she dies. Wayward Sisters was not a spin-off tease. It's an episode. Glad it's relevant, and actually not as cringy as I thought it could have been. And Anti-Krya was actually able to hurt an archangel? Hello? Jack's death. Alright. Supernatural's version of the body episode of Buffy in terms of how, with Jack's slow, imminent death, we see the individual reactions of the three dads, and it felt more like he was dying of cancer rather than some supernatural cause. It made it feel real, actually, and made me think deeply until Cass' deal is made, and I'm emotional. I have seen Cass's final scene a million times. I know exactly what this deal means, and seeing him make it after all this time, even knowing how it ends, dang, it just hits differently actually watching it play out like this in full for the first time. This deal leads to soulless Jack, which obviously wasn't going to end well. Dean ended up being right about him in the end anyways. But before that, the 300th episode. That was it. This was the beginning of the end of Supernatural, as we see the Winchesters as a complete family for the only time. Jeffrey Dean Morgan literally got off the set of The Walking Dead to give us this very special episode, and I'm emotional again. Oh, the family business. Sam and Cass go to Storybrooke. Bro, I saw Regina's house. Once Upon a Time is one of my favorite shows, so don't doubt I freaked out when Sam said to Cass,
"Watch your mouth. If we cannot remain civil, then you can skedaddle."
In Regina's living room. Whew. Yeah, that was an experience. Calm before the storm, because the last handful of episodes, things got serious. Without getting into it, Jack kills Mary, kind of a dumb death, and looking back, Mary, just overall, was criminally underused during her time on the show. Hey, Michael's dead at least. And also, God was never on your side. Sam shot God. Jack in the empty. What is happening?
Stray is the most creative game I've seen since It Takes Two, which was my game of the year last year. And I don't know what I expected going into this game, but Stray exceeded any expectations I might have had. When you say, oh yeah, Stray is a game where you play as a cat, you immediately have expectations of a cat simulator. You expect gameplay moments like scratching the walls or furniture, jumping and climbing onto unusual places, jumping and landing on all fours from a high distance, meddling with objects and causing chaos. Well, that kind of gameplay is definitely included in this experience. I'm mostly satisfied with the climbing elements of this game, actually. Like, the mechanics for navigations it's very smooth and simple. The game is good at letting you know where you can and cannot go, and it's simple to just interact with a simple button command. The gameplay is also a bit more dynamic with the puzzles you need to solve. It's all pretty well designed. The gameplay is whatever compared to the story and ingenious world building. We're taken through this futuristic society of robots during a time when humans are extinct. The goal of the cat is to get back outside of the domed city, but along the way, you help these robotic citizens too. I love how every robot has its own name, design, dialogue, story, and personality. It makes the world seem so alive and lived in, despite no actual living creatures actually living there. It's just robots. Plus the weird pink fleshy monsters that try and suck your flesh. The design of the world is nothing short of stunning. No detail was left behind, as every room, every alleyway, every street corner just seems so detailed. I don't know how else to explain it. It's such an immersive experience, and exploring the world and getting to know the citizens is the best part of the game. There's so many clues here and there to teach us the lore and of how things came to be, and you get emotionally attached to some of the characters, especially your close companion B12. RIP. This could very well be the game of the year, and I am begging you to play this game. It's such a unique experience, with deep thematic stories, absolutely stunning visuals, and all the stereotypical cat gameplay you could ask for.
Okay, Disney fans, are you familiar with the name Alan Menken? Well, you should be, because he saved the Walt Disney Company in the 90s and is the father of the Renaissance. Menken grew up in the heart of Manhattan and was involved with music at a very young age. He grew up very active in the music scene, And though he started off as a pre-med major, he eventually pursued music in college. After attending a prestigious musical theater workshop, he knew music was where he wanted to be and had specific enthusiasm for musical theater. He spent the 70s doing little jobs around New York in various clubs and music departments, including Sesame Street. He managed to get minor successes in a few off-Broadways until Little Shop of Horrors happened. Yes, you heard correctly. Alan Menken's big break was the musical Little Shop of Horrors. Such a success that the film was made within a few years. Menken got his start by blessing us with some iconic 80s culture, that's for sure. Ending the 80s, Alan Menken had yet another revolutionary opportunity to compose and songwrite for Disney's The Little Mermaid. With Menken's strong and powerful music, the Disney Renaissance officially began. Hey, I love 70s and 80s Disney, but not many people did at the time. And the studio needed Ariel. The studio needed Menken. And it doesn't end there. Think of the greatest Disney movies of all time. Most of them are from the Disney Renaissance eras in the 90s, right? What really stands out in those movies more than anything? The songs, the score? Well, Menken did that. He did it for us. All the most iconic Disney songs, with amazing collaborators and other songwriters, of course, Alan Menken gifted us with Disney's most golden era. Beauty and the Beast, Aladdin, Pocahontas, Hunchback of Notre Dame, Hercules. That was all Menken. I bet you can name at least 2 songs from all of those films. He was sipping God's tears when he did Hunchback, one of the greatest film scores I've ever heard in my life. Some other notable projects include Home on the Range, Noelle, Shiny Dog, and Enchanted. Yeah, he did that too. He also did Newsies, another Broadway success of his. Guys, yeah, he also did Tangled. Tangled? He earned that Disney Legend Award in 2001 for a good reason. Actually, Menken has received a number of well-earned accolades. This dude, he has currently 19 Academy nominations and has won 8 for Little Mermaid, Beauty and the Beast, Pocahontas, and Aladdin. He has also been nominated for 16 Golden Globes and won 7 for these same films. He has snagged a couple of Emmys out of 4 nominations, 2-time BAFTA nominee, 1 Tony out of 5 noms for Newsies, 1 Olivier Award out of 3 noms for the Beauty and the Beast stage musical, 26 Grammy nominations with 11 wins, including 1 for Tangled. Oh, but did I mention his Disney Legend Award from 20 years ago? Because he has continuously contributed to the studio non-stop. From theme park shows to the lame live-action remakes I don't really watch. Like, his back must hurt from carrying the weight of the Disney World on his shoulders.
That's it for this week. Be sure to follow this podcast and please follow my Twitter and blog at Hollis Films to follow my journey experiencing the entertainment industry's greatest stories. And let me know what you've been fangirling over this week. Thank you for joining me, and I'll talk to you again next week.